What's up, 7th grade? This is lesson 50. Our objective is how to use unit multipliers and convert units. So before we get started with this, you need to remember that if you take any number that's not 0 and divide by itself, it is 1. For example, 3 over 3 is 1, pi over pi is 1, 47.629 divided by 47.629, that's equal to 1. You can also remember that whenever you're multiplying fractions, that you can reduce before you multiply. So like here I can realize that 3 goes into 3 one time, and 3 goes into 3 one time up here, and then I can reduce, so at the top is just 2 times 1, which is 2. Oh, and I just remembered that I can reduce one more thing. 2 goes into 2 one time here, and into 4 two times here. So we multiply now at the top, which is 1 times 1, and the bottom, which is 1 times 2, which is 1/2. So that's reduced to 1/2. Now, remembering this fact right here, that anything over itself is 1, remember that if you have two units of measure that are equal, when you divide them, that would also be 1. So think about 1 foot is the same thing as 12 inches. Then whenever you say 1 foot divided by 12 inches, that is the same thing as 1. So whenever you multiply it by something, it will not change its value. So to convert units of measure, we're going to use a given measure that we're given, and then we're going to use a unit multiplier, which is something that looks like this. Two measures that are the same divided by themselves, and that will give you your new converted measure. But it will be the same value because you'll just be multiplying it by 1. So this is example 1. It says write 2 unit multiplier for these equivalent measures. So 3 feet is equal to 1 yard. I can write that as 3 feet divided by 1 yard. Or I can write that as 1 yard divided by 3 feet. So there's 1, 2 unit multipliers from this given thing. Now, example 2 says to select a unit multiplier from the one above to convert each of these. So let's look at part A here. It says 240 yards, I'll abbreviate that. And I'm trying to convert this into feet. So just for simplicity here, I'm going to say this is over 1, because anything that you have divided by 1 is still going to be the same thing. So this is my given measure, and I'm going to multiply it by 1, and I want my units to be feet. So remember, I have a yards up here on the top, and I want to get rid of my yards and have feet. So I'm going to pick this first one here because the yards are on the bottom. So I need my 1 yard down here, and on top I want to have the 3 feet. Because whenever I multiply, this yard part will reduce with this yards part. My denominator will just be 1 times 1, which is 1. And my top will be 240 times 3, which is 720. So I can just write this as 720 feet. So 240 yards is equal to 720 feet. Now for the second one down here, I have 240 feet. Again, you can put this over 1 if you want. And whenever I multiply, I'm going to now pick the second one, because again, I want those feet on the bottom and the yards on the top. So my answer will have a yards in it on the top. And I have to put the feet on the bottom, so it will reduce with the feet up there. So my feet will reduce, 1 yard, 3 feet. So my feet will reduce with these feet, and then 3 goes into 3 one time, 3 goes into 240, 80 times. So then I have 80 times 1, which is 80, and I have those yards still on top. On the bottom I have 1 times 1, which is just 1, which simplifies down to 80 yards. Example 3 says an Olympic event in track and field is 100 meter dash. The 100 meters is about how many yards, and then it tells us that it is 1 meters is approximately the same thing as 1.1 yards. So what I need to do is I need to convert this 100 meters into yards. So 100 meters, that's an M, I'm going to multiply it by the 1 meter on the bottom and the 1.1 yards on top, because again I want the meters on the bottom to reduce with the meters on the top. So meters reduce with meters. On the bottom I have 1 times 1, so I don't really have to write that part. On top I have 100 times 1.1, which is 1, 1, 0, 110 yards, because that's the only unit that is left there. 110 yards. Example 4 says, Tim can sprint 9 yards per second. Convert this rate to feet per second. So here I have 9 yards per 1 second. So I need to convert this rate into feet per second. So the seconds I'm happy with, I just need to change the yards into feet. So I need a yards down here and a feet up here. And I remember that 3 feet is the same thing as 1 yard. So let's see what we can reduce. The yards, reduce with yards. So I have 9 times 3, which is 27. And the units on top is feet. And then I have 1 second times 1, so it's going to be 1 second. So I can write it like this, 27 feet per second. Your homework starts on page 355. You're going to do the practice set, all of them from lesson 50, all of them from lesson 49, and 9 more of your choice.